So now you've had a few years' experience with the Tesla vehicles, as you've mentioned. Where you are centered is not in the center of a major city. You're just outside, more in a rural setting here in the country outside of Toronto. You obviously use a supercharger network. What's your thoughts on that? How's that been for you?
Well, I have, but I had my car on display at a small car show here a week or two ago, and you get asked the same questions over and over, as we all know.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to bet in my 3.5 years of Tesla ownership, I've only used the supercharger 3 or 4 times.
Okay. So you've been able to maintain your
yes, because the average person, they say, doesn't do more than 60 to 100 kilometers a day.
Right.
I'm very fortunate that I'm very close to my home here, but I do drive my car out to Scarborough and London and places like that. And very seldom do you need a supercharger. It's really when you're going into, from major city to major city.
Yeah.
So from where we are here, which is 401 and Guelph Line, yes, if you're going to Windsor, you'd want to stop in Woodstock or Comber. If you were going to Kingston, you're going to want to stop somewhere in the East End. If you're going well up north, you're going to want to stop at Barrie. But I want to reassure people that most people with a gasoline car don't fill their car up with gas every night when they go home. But when you plug your car in, it's fully ready to go the next day.
The mentality is completely different.
Yeah, and we all had range anxiety, and I'm going to say the first few times I got my car at the dead of the winter, and I tried a couple of trips I think I had to stop for charge, and I stopped at a very low voltage 20 or 30 amp, which you had to wait an hour or two to, so you learn from that, and there's range charges you can do, but I'm going to reassure people that as a rule, unless you're going to do long distance driving, which is what the supercharger are for, a Tesla is fine just with charging at home.
Do you think other car dealers or manufacturers of EVs should deploy something similar in their own, more of the supercharging?
Or should they participate?
Or should they participate, yeah. And what's there?
I guess we all have concerns, first of all, even when Model 3 comes out, with what's going to happen with the supercharger network. Exactly. And they've talked about Grimsby just opened, they've talked about Parry Sound is coming in Huntsville, which are more cottage, and if you're going to North Bay. So we don't know plans for infill in between that.
We've also, by the way, talked about some of the expansion on these.
Yeah, so as you said, Trevor, congestion could be a concern. So that would concern me that if also we allowed BMW or Audi or Volkswagen or anybody to use a supercharger network, how is that going to work? So I don't know how that would work, to tell you the truth. I know there is concerns that the supercharger network is proprietary and it's only used for Teslas. And I think that was done back in the day because of the amount of power and the that our cars use, and the fact that we have a much longer range than 2 or 3 times the range of most regular electric cars, and that's why they did that. So I think it still remains to be seen what's going to happen. But I do have to agree with Elon. I think we want more and more electrification, and so if there's cooperation between, if BMW bring a network out, but it's compatible with Tesla and vice versa, I think that'll be fine,
Do you think the congestion concerns are mostly centered around the fact that Tesla has built some of their superchargers within city limits rather than being out on the highways where they're supposed to be for long?
Yeah, we're lucky here in Canada and Ontario that I don't think congestion's been a problem. I know it has been a bit of a problem at Lawrence. Somebody posted a picture the other day of a spot being iced at Lawrence, and they didn't know whose vehicle it was, which kind of flabbergasted me.
Yeah.
We know those places in California where congestion has been an issue. They've even put like valet where they'll move your car for you, and who knows if we're going to see this automatic snake thing that Elon posted that will charge your car automatically. Maybe you'll put your car a couple spaces away and leave, and a car will pull out automatically, and your car will pull in automatically, and it'll plug in.
I would have put it past them.
Yeah, honestly, neither would I. But and Tesla apparently has sent out messages to people who are using charging within a city that it's really not meant for that. But where do you draw the line? We've got a few people in our club that live in condos, and condos are not the easiest thing right now to get your car charged. So they have nowhere to go other than a supercharger or somewhere else like that. So there's a lot of things that still have to remain to be seen, but I'm optimistic that they'll get solved the way things have gone up to now.
So John, we understand that you have a Model X Signature Series.
Yes, I do.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so as I mentioned to you earlier, I was going to go from my Signature S to a Model X. I just thought that some of the new technology was coming up would be really cool, but the fact that it kept on getting delayed and they came out with the P85D, I replaced that. But then I went to the reveal of the Model X back in September, I think it was, last year. My son and I went down, and we're blown away by it. I have to say I was taken aback a little bit when I saw the front end, as a lot of us were, but it's grown on me, especially in the darker colors. And we actually were able to get in where we didn't drive it, but we went for a ride in it, and was blown away by the doors, obviously, the windshield, the sound system. There was a lot of things. So again, I'm an early adopter, love all the new technology, and so put an order back in for a Model X back after I came back from the reveal. Then, so I knew I wouldn't get my Model X until probably late summer or early fall of this year. Then there was some discussion that there may be a few Model X signatures available in Canada because some people have dropped out because of 7-passenger or seat not folding or whatever. So I did some inquiries and found out that you could switch your order over, and I don't know the exact number, but I think 3 or 4 other people were able to do that. So I switched my order from a regular Model X to a signature, and I got mine about a week ago.
So what's your opinion on Tesla pricing everything in US dollars and doing conversions for other countries?
Yeah,
maybe more like a Ford or GM where they do like a small differential. Like I have a Lincoln outside, and I've looked in the price, and I bought the car a year ago, and the price hasn't changed.
I know. It did concern me, but there's pros and cons. My signature Model S really wasn't that much more than with an exchange rate than an American Model S back in the day. And my P85D, the exchange rate was not that much higher either. So we were getting our cars fairly favorably. But I think what the typical ICE manufacturers do, because that's the business I'm in, is they hedge, whether they buy American dollars or they keep their money in Canada. And you're right, Trevor. I mean, when you look at competitors, it's sort of in the same class price-wise. BMW, Audi, their vehicles have not really changed too much. BMW changed a few models, but certainly not as much as Tesla. So yeah, that bothers me a little bit. But there was times of the year or over the years where our prices have been around the same because the dollar's been the same. And there was a while there that Tesla held their prices for a while and didn't bring it up as fast as they could have. So there's pros and cons to that. Maybe the Model 3 people that are watching this in 2 years, the dollar will be at par, and you'll get your Model 3 for 35 or 40,000 Canadian. Who knows? We all hope so, myself included.
I agree. I think Elon always throws out economies of scale. He's always talking about that. So as they ramp up production and get those higher production numbers, and as you said, they'll be able to build in some longer risk factors with the U.S. dollar and things like that versus the rest of the world as they have.
Yeah, and even like we have a 6.1% import duty on because of the batteries.
Yeah.
But interesting that I wasn't able to get an answer.
And
but
I asked them, I had sent an email.
Yes.
Tesla the same thing, asking them because of the Gigafactory situation. Will the NAFTA duty go away? Because
it should, from what they've said.
Yeah.
But the other interesting thing is the last price reduction for Model X and Model S. Somebody posted on the forum that an email was sent from Tesla to them saying because of U.S. dollar exchange and import duties, we were able to lower our price. So I'm wondering if they're now somehow been able to lower the price a little bit because they're now starting to produce some batteries, or maybe the percentage of content in the Model X is a little bit different than the S. But I've never been able to get an answer on that.
Yeah, I was wondering about that myself because of the fact, a lot of the duties really come from the fact that the batteries are made in Japan, of course, because it constitutes a larger percentage of the vehicle makeup, then it exceeds whatever the number is. 50%
so 6% could be $2,000 or $3,000 on a Model 3, and let's cross our fingers for that. I can't see why it wouldn't now meet the Canadian content rules.
Right. Okay. And you've been satisfied with your Model X so far?
Yes, I have been. I'm very nervous, like a lot of people, when I saw all the posts about some problems with the doors and the seals and all kinds of issues. But again, we were very fortunate that we weren't quite as much of a beta or early adopters as the Americans were, because I think they'd produced at least, I'm not sure the exact number, but over 6,000 or 7,000 by the time we got our SIGs. And it's pretty well flawless in construction as far as I can see. There's been the odd little glitch with some software. The fob, for example, you can do a one-click close all the door on the fob. And I've had a couple doors closed for no reason, which I think when it's in your pocket, because if you push, against just tight, yeah, exactly, it's a pocket dial, or if you lean in and push it against something. So I have to be aware of that. And again, I've sent an email to Tesla about that. But a few little things where I realized I just have to remember as an experienced owner, there's a little glitch, like I wasn't remembering my seat memory. So I just rebooted the screens and
that's
that
the beauty, I think, that a lot of people need to understand with Tesla vehicles is that these cars are constantly connected to Tesla headquarters, and they do software updates over the air. So these cars are all controlled via software. So these glitches that people are reporting and stuff are not flaws necessarily in the hardware. It's just a software fix,
right?
And they can send that out. I mean, they're still working on the doors on the Model X.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just even a reboot that. I don't understand computers that well, but there may just be some slight glitch. So, for example, your memory for your driver profile will remember your mirrors, your seats, steering wheel, that type of thing. And I would adjust my seats, and as soon as you adjust it a little bit, it would come up and say, "Did you want to save it?" Well, it wasn't doing that on the Model X. It only did it if I changed the lumbar.
Okay.
And I was about to report that to Tesla, and I think, well, let's do a boot of the screens, and sure enough, it's now working.
Okay.
So, but I would say I'm very pleased with, and I can just tell you the difference from my Model S Signature to my Model S P85D was dramatic in build quality. Not that my Signature was bad, but just the difference in build quality was quite dramatic, and features, and the difference again to the Model X, the interior is far superior in my mind in materials, in build quality, in seat comfort. It's amazing.
I hear the seats are phenomenal.
Yeah.
We have a lot of viewers at Watch that are getting into, again, the Model 3 and Tesla universe for the first time, myself included. You've had that experience now on the quality with the Tesla. What would you say to those viewers that were waiting for our Model 3s? What would you say the type of quality we should be expecting by the time the Model 3 comes around in a year and a half or so, in your opinion?
Well, I would hope, again, a lot of people are nervous because they didn't expect to sell 400,000 of these things, and
or did they?
Well, I don't know if you saw the post, but one of I don't know, it was Franz or somebody said that they had an internal bet on how many they would sell, and it was 150,000 in the first month or something. But I honestly say I'm a little bit nervous because they've got to ramp up now way faster than they ever expected. They are now making, what are they making up to, about 100,000 cars a year, or the capability to do that.
Well, yeah, they're projecting between 80 and 90,000 cars this year. That's Model S and X.
Yeah, and they're now on the same production line. They can intersperse them, and the Model 3 will probably be on a different line. I think it's going to end up using the old Model S line initially, but there are rumors that they may have had to get an extra factory for that, and so I don't think it's going to be quite as complex as the first two vehicles. Yeah. So I'm optimistic that it should be at least the quality that we're seeing in the Model X now. And again, I think for Canadian viewers, I hate to say this, but we're not going to get our cars as fast as the U.S. I mean, they've said they're going to ramp out to West Coast U.S. first, and owners first, employees first. So I think a lot of the little growing pains and things that we see when the new vehicles come out will probably be alleviated by then.
Yeah, we'll be benefactors of that.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, and just to point out real quick, if I could say this, is that a lot of naysayers talk about why don't Tesla have all these things solved before they launch the car, but and they're trying to compare it to Volkswagen and Audi and Acura and Porsche and BMW. These are manufacturers that have been around for 50 and 75 and 100 years, and they make more vehicles in a month than Tesla makes in a year, type of thing. So there's way more experience from ramping up from day one. I mean, I've been to the plant. You want to talk about a fanatic? I've been to the plant 4 times. And I want to get back again to now see the X in full production. So that the fact that they can build a plant from scratch, from an old school ICE plant, from scratch, to go to the robots and the automation, and have all those parts assembled and put together by a new workforce and a car from the ground up, from an electric car, it's really phenomenal. Really,
it's amazing what they've been able to accomplish in a short amount of time.
And I would say that, yes, have we been a little bit more patient with some things that we've seen on the car because of our alliance to Tesla and electric cars? Probably, yeah. But I'm totally blown away, and I think everybody will be more than pleased.
Well, thanks for that. So we're going to have a little treat. We're going to go outside and check out John's Model X. So stay tuned.
Okay.
Look forward to it. Yeah.